Hello, everybody. It's story time with Teacher Gabe, and today we're reading My First President book by Aileen Fisher. I'm going to make these ones a little bigger. Young George. What kind of boy was Washington? He liked to swim and run and catch a fish and ride a horse and read when day was done. He made his brothers wooden swords and played at war for fun. And no one dreamed he'd fight someday as General Washington. Let's see, the schoolboy. He wished to be a gentleman, this boy of long ago, and so he copied all the rules that gentlemen should know. Sit not when others stand, sleep not when others speak. He copied off 100 rules in less than half a week. He thought of other rules as well, like duty never shirk, and then he had a further task to put the rules to work. Excuse me. Mount Vernon. I like a farm, said Washington. Mount Vernon most of all. I like to ride my horse and watch the crops grow green and tall. And yet he left the place he loved to meet his country's call. Portrait. A tall man, a strong man, a man upon a horse, a gentleman in satin coat and powdered wig, of course. A three-cornered hat man, with the uniform of war. For war. General George Washington was all of that and more. Valley Forge. At Valley Forge, the army camped in freezing winter weather. The men were hungry and their clothes would hardly hold together. The general's birthday was at hand. He wanted one thing only, help for all his weary men away from home and lonely. Then Martha showed the socks she'd knit for soldiers of all sizes, and corn arrived for Johnny Cake, a birthday of surprises. President Washington. Welcome, Michael. We're reading My First President's Day right now. Let's see. Where were we? President Washington. Folks wanted him to be their king. The war with England won. He would not hear of such a thing. He said, my job is done. I have no wish for kingly fame. At home I will be content. But with some urging, he became our first great president. Washington Monument. High above the town it soars, 500 feet and more. Made of marble gleaming white, it shines through peace and war. A fitting way to honor one who filled his country's needs. A monument for Washington, so tall in thoughts and deeds. All right, Abraham Lincoln. One-room cabin. A simple cabin made of logs was all the Lincolns had. One room, one window, and a door, a loft, and earth that made a floor. When Abe was just a lad, and no one ever thought a humble home like that would house a future president who wore a stovepipe hat. Wonder what a stovepipe hat is. Excuse me. At Pigeon Creek. There we go. He had to sleep on a corn husk bed because he had no other. He had to walk a good long way for water for his mother. His hands grew hard from holding tight the axe's heavy handle. He had to read by fireplace light because he had no candle. A learning boy. Abe's father called him lazy. Abe's second mother said, lazy, just you wait and see. He has a learning head. Abe studied law and thought about events that came and went, and Mrs. Lincoln lived to see that learning boy grow up to be our 16th president. Growing tall. Abe Lincoln was a growing lad those years at Pigeon Creek. He kept outgrowing sleeves and socks, it seemed like every week. He grew as tall as 6 feet 4, and it is good to tell that as he stretched out more and more, his mind grew tall as well. Who grew up poor as a barefoot lad and read a book every chance he had? Who studied law, who stood up tall and spoke of liberty for all, who wore a shawl and a tall top hat? Abraham Lincoln did all of that. Address at Gettysburg. The day was cold, the setting bleak. The crowd around the speaker's stand watched Lincoln as he rose to speak, 2 sheets of paper in his hand. The North and South were still at war when Lincoln spoke with pride of men who fought at Gettysburg for freedom's cause and died. Our people must be one, he said. Some now are slaves, some free. One nation under God, he said, is what we're meant to be. Lincoln Memorial. If you go to Washington, D.C., be sure to see the monument in Lincoln's memory. You'll see him sitting thinking with wisdom in his face and charity for everyone of every faith and race. Oh, is that? Yep. All right, so that was my first President's Day, which was yesterday. All right, next we have Valentine Cats by Jean Marzollo and illustrated by Hans Wilhelm. Wilhelm? And Valentine's was Sunday, so 2 days ago. Oh, I'm gonna have to make these pages a little bigger too. Here we go. Rider cats get ready. Rider cats start a card. Rider cats need a message. Rider cats think hard. Rider cats find words. Rider cats write more. Little kittens catching drafts falling from the floor. Falling to the floor, not from the floor. Artist cats choose paper. Artist cats dab glue. Artist cats shake glitter and artist cats paint too. Artist cats make hearts and artist cats cut more. Little kittens catching scraps falling to the floor. Oop, that's a little too far. Postal cats make a mailbox. Postal cats write a sign. Postal cats fill bags and postal cats look fine. Postal cats on the march, postal cats at the door. Little kittens catching mail falling to the floor. Happy Valentine's Day. All right, and that was Valentine's Cats. All right, next is I Am Rosa Parks by Brad Meltzer and illustrated by Christopher Eliopoulos, I think. All right, here we go. I Am Rosa Parks. Growing up, I was small for my age. I was sick a lot too, since we didn't have money for a doctor, but that didn't mean I was weak. I'm not that short. All right, so apparently she was very small. When I was 11, as I was walking home from school, a boy on roller skates came zipping by and shoved me. He thought I'd be an easy target. To his surprise, I turned around and pushed him back. I knew fighting was wrong, but I didn't want him picking on me again. His mother saw what happened, and she was mad that I'd pushed him. But you know what made her even madder? I was black, and her son was white. She immediately started yelling. No question it was scary, but my mother and grandfather taught me to respect myself, and to expect respect from others, so instead of backing down, I stood my ground, and calmly but firmly explained, I wasn't just standing up to that. I firmly explained, your son was the one who pushed me. I didn't bother him at all. I wasn't just standing up to that mom, or even to the boy on the roller skates. I was standing up for myself. After that, the boy and his mom never bothered me again. Still, it's hard to change things. Sometimes it can take a long time. Back then, if you were black, you were treated unfairly, just because of the color of your skin. You weren't allowed to live in the same neighborhood as a white person, eat in the same restaurant, ride the same elevator, or use the same bathroom. You couldn't even drink from the same water fountain. One was marked for whites and the other for colored. That's not very good. When I was little, I used to wonder if white water tasted different from colored water. I even wondered if colored water came in lots of colors. But it didn't. The only difference was I had to walk outside, or even down the block to get mine. Of course, it wasn't just about water fountains. This was my school, a small old wooden building with one room and one teacher for all of us. Everyone from 5 years old to 6th graders were stuffed in that one room. There were no windows, desks, and barely any books. Since most kids had to work on a farm to earn money, we only went to school 5 months out of the year. We also brought our books home every night. Why? Because we were worried that folks who hated the color of our skin would burn down our school. That's not nice. Now here's the school for the kids who were white. Notice the difference? It was a new brick building with beautiful windows, new desks, and plenty of books, plus a playground. They went to school 9 months out of the year since they weren't working in the fields like we were. Now we can say hooray. No, there's no hooray about this. Also, if you were black, you had to walk to school. If you were white, you got to take the bus. The worst part was when I'd walk home with my brother, the kids on the bus would throw trash at us. That's not nice. It made me feel horrible, but there was no civil rights back then. The only solution was to move off the road, and really, what kind of solution was that? As I got older, things didn't change much. There's no room in here, lady. One winter, I was waiting for a local city bus. If you were black, you had to sit in the back, and if you were white, you rode up front. On that day, the back of the bus was all packed. But there were plenty of seats in the front. I was just trying to find a place to sit. But as I entered through the front door of the bus, what do you think you're doing? You need to get off and use the back door. Only whites can come through the front. But I'm already in. I tried to explain that there was no room to get in through the back. The driver didn't care. He wanted me off the bus. He grabbed me by the coat sleeve. I dropped my purse near the front door to pick it up. I sat in the front seat, a white seat. It made the driver madder than ever. That's what he called it. My bus, as if it were his. The bus wasn't his, though it belonged to all of us. Still, that afternoon the driver got his way. He kicked me off. See you soon. Yes, you will. But I promise that wasn't the last time I'd face that bus driver. From there, in addition to working as a seamstress, I started working to change things at the NAACP. NAACP? I'm not sure what it's exactly called. We fought for fair laws and made sure that people's stories were heard. I also stopped using colored water fountains. I'd rather go thirsty than be treated poorly. It was the same with separated elevators. Instead of riding them, I'd take the stairs. But as for real change, even I didn't know it was coming. It was the end of a busy Thursday. I was 42 years old and on the bus going home. This time I was sitting in the first row of seats that were allowed for black people. There was one man next to me and two women across from me. It was the same driver from before, the exact same one from all those years earlier. At the third stop, a few white people got on, filling the rest of the empty seats. There was one white person left standing, so the driver told those of us in my row, "Let me have those front seats." At first, none of us moved, but when he asked again, "You all better make it light on yourselves and let me have those seats." The other three people got up, but I stayed where I was. Sliding over the window, I thought about what he was demanding. He wanted to take my seat away. He wanted to give it to that man, and why? Because I was black and the man was white? I knew what the rules said, but I also knew in my heart, that's not how you treat people. Without a doubt, the driver was mad, but I never really lost my cool, never raised my voice. "Are you gonna get up?" "No." People say that the reason I refused to give up my seat was because I was tired, and I was, but it wasn't the kind of tired that came from aching feet. The only tired I was tired of giving up. "Well, I'm going to have you arrested. You may go on and do so." Before me, there were other brave women who had refused to give up their seats. Still, on that day, for violating the rules of Montgomery, Alabama, I got arrested. But by standing up for myself, I ignited a movement. From there, the Montgomery bus boycott began, for 381 days. That's well over a year. All blacks in the city and and even a few whites refuse to ride the public buses. But if you don't use the buses, we'll go out of business. Then maybe you should think about changing your rules. Finally, the rules were changed. Public buses were no longer allowed to separate people based on the color of their skin. That was only the beginning. Eventually, we were allowed to drink from the same water fountains, ride the same elevators, and yes, go to the same schools. In the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson wrote that we're all created equal. Finally, the nation started to act like it. Now can we say hooray? Soon. We're close. Of course, that didn't mean the fight was over. There were thousands of other people just like that bus driver. But after hearing how I didn't give up my seat, excuse me, there were now thousands of people just like me, together, inspired, and committed to justice. My name's Martin. Want to hear a rough draft of my speech? You bet I do. In my life, people tried to knock me down, tried to make me feel less than I was. They teased me for being small, being black, and being different. Let me be clear, no one should be able to do that. But if they try, you must stand strong. Stand for what's right. Stand up for yourself, even if it means sitting down. And when you do, others will follow. Let's see. What's the medal? It's the Congressional Gold Medal, one of the government's highest honors. George Washington got one too. Cool. Now can I say hooray? Go for it. Hooray! I am Rosa Parks. I am not a politician or a president or an actor or a famous business owner. I'm just an ordinary person. But I'm also proof that there's no such thing as an ordinary person. I hope you'll always stand up for yourself, and I hope you'll remember that we're all in this together. All right, and that was I Am Rosa Parks. And that was all the stories I had for today. Thank you guys for reading with me. I hope you guys have a good day.